Everybody shut up.
Realistically,
So, yes, realistically
from my
speaking,
point of view,
you have all the responsibilities
of a mother,
but you don't get to hug and consolidate with your children and show affection. The biological mom can do it only. You have to bring them to and from school, bring them to practice, do their homework with them, etc. But you can't show affection. How would that make you feel?
It would probably hurt my feelings.
That's exactly how men feel when they sit there and they cannot discipline your children. The reality
is oh my god!
Are the comforters of their children. When you
Hold on. sorry. There was like a high pitched ringing in my ear when I heard that. I didn't catch most of it. Hold on. Hi, Wave.
Only you have to bring them to and from school, bring them to practice, do their homework with them, etc. But you can't show affection. How would that make you feel?
It would probably hurt my feelings.
That's exactly how men feel when they sit there and they cannot discipline your children. The reality is this. Men are the disciplinarians of their children. Women are the comforters of their children. When you have a man in your life and he has all the responsibility but zero authority, whether you're saying, but the baby daddy's involved. Yes, he's involved, but the man can't act in his natural state with his children. Men keep daughters off stripper poles and sons out of jail. That's what they're designed to do. Just like women are designed to comfort their children and let them know that the boogeyman is not real. So you have been stripped of your motherly instinct to take care of the kids simply because of the fact that
yeah, Akalaka, that's it.
Yeah.
Tied to them. That's exactly how men feel when they come in as the stepfather, whether they're aware of it or not. That's what's happening to them. They're being constrained.
Okay. You put it in good perspective.
I just feel like, bro, listen.
I'm sorry? The woman agreed? What? Oh, the lady didn't necessarily agree. It's just, I guess, respecting that perspective, I guess.
As a stepfather, like, I'm a nigga who grew up with a stepfather that I fucking hated, and over time I look at him like as my dad type shit. So I feel like you gotta give a nigga time to actually show discipline and be a fucking, like, you know what I'm saying? If your dad ain't in your fucking life and this nigga come through and when he start hitting you and shit at first, you like, what the fuck, nigga? You ain't my fucking dad. You arguing like, bitch, you ain't my dad. Over time, he show you shit. He teach you shit. He become like a father figure to you, and you like, oh, this nigga is my dad type shit. More than my dad really was. Type
if
shit.
You're a young guy over here with no kids, don't fucking date no single mom, seriously, bro.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing, ladies.
We talking about our moms.
And Boo was my nigga, but not to invalidate his point.
Yeah.
Everything you just said is irrelevant because she said, my baby's father is very active in his life. I'm not looking for a father. You're saying that your daddy wasn't shit. Yeah. You had other issues beyond that.
True.
She's saying,
he's in his life.
Yeah. Again, of course, it's very conflicted. I feel like this is so simple, and like Martin did a great job.
That's why I had to flip it.
And like
the script.
That's just what I was on. I thought everybody was on that.
It's one of those things where like somehow they feel like being a man, and I've heard women say this: being a man is being able to take care of another guy's kid. It's not natural. It's not instinctual. It's just we could just look. Y'all watch like the Animal Planet, right? Like, if they ain't get that monkey or whatever pregnant, they're not staying around. They're dipping. They're going on to like, again, people are following DNA and following just biology, trying to extend their legacy in certain type of ways. Why the fuck are we gonna say the definition of manhood got to be like, you got to take care of some kid you didn't rear? And then again, when you think about the downsides that come with, nobody wants to fucking. If you're gonna live in my house, I can't like discipline you. I gotta like play by the rules your mom is making. Your baby daddy, he don't gotta play by the rules. Of course, you might say, hey, we shouldn't hit Johnny. If your baby daddy feel like Johnny needs an ass whipping, he's taking up that steps, okay? I mean, but like, of course, you're
he's only 2 years old.
Okay, you're like trying to contextualize it in how people would deal with. Yeah. What I'm just saying is like, if it was the guy who's dating you, before he even thinks about doing that, he has to say, hey, I really have no right to do this. This might jeopardize the relationship with me and you.
We already, the thing is, man, we already answered it. Like, I put her in the same exact situation, and she said, I would not like it. And I'm telling you, because here's the thing I've come to realize with women. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the entire show, what I've done is I've switched the role and given you guys a feeling first, and then I ask you, this is exactly how men feel, and then that's when it sinks in.
No, it doesn't. Your example is dog shit. Oh my god. No, you can't compare the love from a mother with discipline from the father. It's so different. Oh God. But this is really a hot take though. Like, are physical punishments necessary to raise a child? A lot of people would agree to it not being necessary, right? My hot take, prepare yourselves. My hot take is that I think it is necessary as long as the punishment doesn't go beyond the purpose or the message. That's when it becomes abuse. When it's excessive. And how do you define excessive is something that I haven't worked out yet. Is it when the child is surprised, or is it when the child stops the action? But how do you even guarantee the stop of the action? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. As a stepdad, not being able to discipline the child is still trash, says Akalaka. Yeah. Especially when you don't really have that. Like, if you haven't built that connection with the child yet. Because it has to. The love has to overweigh. No matter what. I can't get pregnant. I have a pee-pee. I have no egg inside me. I can't produce one. Although we are, getting ready. But my upbringing, I loved my mother very much, but that's because I've seen all the hardship that she went through as a single mother raising me. She's working, trying to make enough money for both of us, while not getting help from, the other party. Right? As life is, it's usually not fair. But she never punished me as much as she loved me. Punishment in those situations are necessary. Ivy, why are you talking like this? Hi, welcome back. Hello. Yeah, Wave is a high-speed debating black guy. Yes. Yes, debates everything. Disagrees. Effectively. You can tell you were raised by a single mom. Okay. Explain why though. Explain why. And Hey is saying, I don't know, man. Being in a position of discipline is tough. It's easy to be unfair occasionally. Now imagine sometimes you apply unfair physical discipline. I don't want none of it to happen. I think, like, what's a good example? I keep thinking of metaphors. I have to stop thinking about metaphors. I keep thinking the quickest way to learn that the fire is hot is to touch it. Right? Not to observe it or see what happens if you throw something in. The quickest way is to touch it, and then you'll learn not to touch it. No. The deleted comment wasn't because, we were discussing something. It was a harmful attack that I have removed. No, we're not pro child abuse. No. See, my opinion is child abuse is when there's excessive amount of force being exerted towards the child. Right? When it goes beyond the message. That's what I mean. If it did the job, you don't have to go past that anymore. And when do we even decide that though? Like, when is it enough? What is too much? That is, yeah, that is where it's not clear, right? That's why there's a lot of drunk people abusing their children, because they feel like they deserve it, so they have to get punished. That's a child abuse. No. It was for shits and giggles. It was a harmful comment that I decided to remove out of the funny, okay? Wave is afraid now. Right, so Akalaka is saying, knowing the fire is hot doesn't work by being physically violent with your child, period. This is well established. There's no such thing as applying violence appropriately. It's almost always unnecessary. Not to say drop kicking your child is always wrong, just not discipline. And Monsoon doesn't know who Wave is. Wave is high speed, whatever he said before. Right. Doesn't work by being physically violent with your child. Ooh. Okay, maybe I have to expand on my point so that it better translates in, you know, when you guys hear it, right? What I'm saying is, what if the school shooters know what it feels like to get shot? Say what, Ivy? Sorry? Yeah. Like, what if these kids that are contemplating on taking another student's life knows what it's like to be on the other side of the barrel? Hold on. What? Explain then, Akalaka. Explain. You're just saying that I'm wrong, but you're not explaining your point. Okay. Alright, catch you next time, hey. Run away. Go ahead. High speed debating black guy. There you go. Yeah. And I know it's easy to go beyond what is necessary though. Right? Because there's the monkey inside us that will make us go, oh, this feels good. I want to keep doing it. But you don't want to go primal on your child. Thanks for hopping in, hey. Much appreciated. Oh, thanks for answering me, Wave. Thank you. I thought you completely skipped my comment. Yeah, I don't know. I don't trust this man to discipline anyone, though. Yeah, this is a man who will not discipline. I don't want to make claims, though. I don't want to go into illegal territory, so yeah, I'm just gonna say I feel like he'll be bad at disciplining, and he will probably ask me why, and then I'll have to explain my point. I don't know. This is to go even further beyond who knows this reference. I have no idea. Is it a Dragon Ball Z? Akalaka is saying almost everyone knows that pain is bad. Experiencing pain on yourself doesn't lead to empathy. It leads to the opposite. Opposite if violence is used against you as a punishment. Excuse me. Empathy is learned behavior by being taught to take others' feelings into consideration. It's not, if you're mean, I'll punch you. Violence can be a deterrent, and violence won't always scar a child. But overall, don't hit your kid. And Ivy saying, I'm not understanding anything, but all I can say is that I never got hit by parents. Thank you, that's my flex. Keep going. Right. Yeah, I'm not a parent yet, so I can't really imagine myself in that position. All I know is the example that I've seen. And, like, I'm not trying to, like, cope or anything, but the punishment that I've received from, well, not my father, but, yeah, my mother, was justified. Because I remember it very clearly, and I remember why I got that punishment. School shooters just weren't hit enough? No. School shooters weren't shot. That's why they carry that determination with them to bring the gun and just go ahead, right? Because they feel like they've had worse than death. They're ready. No, I can't put myself in that shoe. I don't know why I'm talking like I know my shit. Yeah, she gaslit you into thinking it was correct? I don't think so. Asian parents are psychos, 100% of them. This is established science. I don't know. I feel like Asians and white parents go a little too far on one side. Yeah, Asians got that ego though. I don't think my mother had that ego. No, there was no I'm your parent, so I'm always right kind of attitude happening at home. So I never really grew up. Yeah, I've never grown up feeling like I was abused, but I was punished. Whether it be by slippers or these blanket dusters that Japanese people use or the belt. But I knew my mother loved me. And she made that very clear in public, in private, and also the amount of, I guess, like materialistic stuff that she showered me with. And also from seeing the struggle that she went through. Does that really matter? Fuck, I can't speak English now. Yeah. Does it really matter what happened to the parents? With how they raise their kids? What's important is empathy, right? Like you said before, empathy is learned behavior by being taught to take others' feelings into consideration. So that's what I meant by fire is hot, right? A child, I guess, if they learn to bite things and then they see the reaction of what people have and then go, haha, that's funny, I want to bite more. If they get bitten, maybe they'll consider to do less of that. Okay, hearing you out. And what's AFAIK again? I've seen that before. I just don't remember what it means. If you touch fire and it hurts, you don't want to touch fire. But you not wanting to touch fire won't make you not want others to touch fire. That's the point. Huh? So you're trying to say it won't teach other people anything? Wait, what? What do you mean? So this is in terms of discipline, right? Punishing the child, I compared it to touching fire. If you don't have empathy, you won't project your experience on others. You don't learn empathy by suffering yourself. Are you sure? Are you sure? I feel like I can completely disagree on that, and I'm a very doubtful person. Empathy does come from experience. That's how you empathize, right? You go to the closest relatable thing that you've experienced in your life. Oh, that's just you. Yeah. Your opinion, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Of course everyone doesn't like pain, right? Yeah. But why do people do bad things to people? You think? Is it because it's a learned behavior, or they don't have the empathy that they were supposed to learn while growing up? Why do some people have no empathy? I mean, affluence is a good example, right? When kids grow up rich and not struggling as they grow up. And like once they're independent, they don't really know what to do. They have no people skill because everything was given. It's the struggle that shapes people, isn't it? But yeah, wave. I mean, you can't be a high-speed debating black guy, you know, with empathy, obviously. You gotta be cold, cutthroat, and effective, right? Empathy is like this. See, this is toxic masculinity right here. Akalaka is saying, I just think that learning empathy doesn't happen by experiencing more suffering, basically. So punching your kid won't teach them empathy, basically. Right. Okay. So, we'll get into the racial topics then. All right. So, the allies, who has nothing to do with, let's say, being black, right? The allies who are shouting on behalf of the black communities that are suffering in poverty, wherever they may be. Yeah, like systemic racism, whatnot, whatever people argue about now these days. I don't really know all the points, but yeah, the allies who are not physically part of the community, who actually still, what's the word? No, fuck it. Yeah, who actually still benefit from white privilege. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. Okay, so yeah, the allies are being allies because why? Is it for clout? Probably not, right? It's to send a message. And the reason why they're so passionate about that movement is because of that movement. I mean, you know, being on that side is because they have empathy for those people who are suffering. They can relate. They can put themselves in their shoes and consider what they have to go through, no matter if you never experienced it or not. But it's because you have that that point in your life where you feel like maybe you've seen something, or maybe you have experienced it, of the struggles. that you will relate to with these people. I'm about to say something very fucked up, but I really don't give a fuck about this black community. Hold on. Hold on. Of course, if it doesn't affect you that much, you're not gonna care about it that much, obviously, right? You won't have a strong emotion behind your support towards this community if you don't have that emotion to begin with. Obviously. Yeah, Akalaka is saying, wait, Shai, help me out. Help me out here. Didn't you make a point that the less you struggle, the less empathetic you are? Right. These allies typically are very well off. Right. Yeah. I don't know if you're still typing. Can I talk now? Okay, there we go. You're more racist, the more poor you are as well. But that depends on the environment, no? Like, being poor and racist, that's because you bunch up with other people who, I guess, are in the similar position as you, right? You can't say that you're, you know, if this one person is white and then this one person is black and they have no money, they'll be in the same position in this society. I don't think so. I think black people in that position will run into more problems with, you know, the authority compared to the white folks, right? So I don't know about being more racist the more poor you are. That's because I think people just naturally segregate with people who are in almost the exact same position. So of course, white hillbillies will stick with white hillbillies and, you know, so on and so forth. No, I'm not talking about abuse anymore. I'm talking about discipline. That's what I'm talking about right now. But we're branching off to all kinds of examples right now that I am actually interested in. So I like discussing these things, and I'm glad Akalaka is participating in this discussion too. Yeah. Yeah, so what I wanted to say with the allies was, I'm not saying that they may have, I don't really know. Yeah, but yeah, some people who didn't experience that kind of hardship, that, you know, they're not advocating, what's the word? They're protesting against, right? That's the word. Doesn't necessarily have to be them experiencing the same thing. They can relate to it by imagining something similar that happened to them or something that they've seen. That also teaches empathy. And what I said was, hold on. Wave type something, Akalaka type something. Yeah, Wave was saying, I've been down bad more than most people in the. What do you mean by down bad? Are we talking about sex now? All I'm trying to say is that empathy comes from you have something. Fuck, I can't read. Comes from you have some form of kindness in your heart that just comes with the personality you have created. Hold on, my brain isn't registering. Empathy definitely connects to kindness, yeah. I mean, it's the motivation to be nice because you feel like you understand how they're feeling, right? But you never want to say you understand how they feel. Never. Especially people who are depressed, never tell them that you understand how they feel. Never. Never. That's a dangerous thing to say. Alright, yeah, Akalaka is saying, no, I mean, on average, you're more racist the poorer you are. I wonder why you don't see people who suffers the most, i.e. poor people, etc., not be as empathetic as you'd expect, Shy. But that's because they're segregated. I mean, of course, if you separate the brown chicken from the white chicken and you remove the fence, they'll start fighting each other, yeah. That's like, what do you call it? Hold on. No, Akalaka's talking about being a virgin. Hold on. Yeah, why are allies worthy? Why didn't they suffer much? Why are they still empathetic? Hold on here. I suffered more than like 90% of people and are still virgin. Why God? Why me? Right, now I'm catching up. Hi, Mickey! We're talking about complicated things right now. We're talking about like disciplining your children, right? And we're branching off to empathy. We're currently talking about empathy right now. Right? What else is she gonna listen to then? Right. So what I'm saying is empathy is learned from experience, but that experience doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in that scenario. You can also witness the scenario or even learn from an example. That's also an experience. When you see something similar happen, or when you can kind of feel your way into like the memory of the worst time in your life that may have been similar to what these people are going through, you can be an ally, you can be sympathetic, you can be empathetic and support these protests, etc. Right, that's what I'm saying. So empathy can be taught by example, is what I'm saying. And the example that the example that I was talking about before was maybe if these kids who likes to hurt other people knew what it's like to be on the other side. No, this is a bad take. No, I'm mixing like two different things into one. That's not what I was trying to say. God, English is hard. No, because there's gonna be like bullied kids who are trying to fight back, right? So that's a complete.
Gifted Mika Mouseketeer a subscription. Wave the
Oh, thank you, Wave.
80
Thank you.
Isang sub to Mika Mouseketeer.
Monsoon had pasta for dinner, everybody.
Sub in the channel.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Congrats, Mickey. Congrats. You're just loving the copy. No, you're just using words that are trendy. You don't even know what you're saying. Yeah, I was just branching off to a completely different topic. I think empathy can be taught from like physical punishments. I think there are some people, whether it be like I don't know, maybe it has something to do with genetics or whatnot. People learn from different ways, through different ways. And I really do think that if people can understand what it feels like, they'll do it to people less. I don't know, that's how I grew up. Which is also why I'm so timid. I hate that part about myself. I always leave it to Jelly to deal with like majority of the social interaction because I feel like I am doing something wrong. Because I always read too deep into things. Is that coping? Why is that coping? Maybe I am coping and I don't realize that. Why? I want to know. Is that a cope?
Oh yeah, this does kind of suck. But I have to switch the variables around because men and women are very different. So I can't give you the male perspective because you're not going to understand it.
Yeah.
But if I told you, you got to cook and clean and take care of...
Hold up! Hold up! I have a big problem with what he just said there. Big problem. Biggest problem ever.
Sinks in. Oh yeah, this does kind of suck. But I have to switch the variables around because men and women are very different. So I can't give you the male perspective because you're not going to understand it.
You are a male. You can give your perspective to the other side. You just suck at explaining it. Oh my god. I'm so mad. And I watch it for this. I watch it exactly for this. What did Einstein say? If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it enough or something. I feel like that's true. A lot of child abuse pointers. You can't just generalize that. Are you actually trying to help me though? Why are you saying these things in the chat? Welcome to the debate. It's trash. I'm not trying to debate. I want to get to know people. Right now, I'm learning more about Akalaka than anything right now. Goodness. No, you're just generalizing this fucking coping explanation to just a lot of what? Child abuse? Just generalizing what I was saying? How are you specifying? You specifying what though? The behavior and takes you're showing as typical of child abuse. Okay. Was I asleep when that happened? Let me scroll back. Yeah, this is the beauty of the chat, isn't it? Yeah, if anything, you asked more questions than you gave answers. I want answers. I was coping when? How was I coping was the question that I asked last. I want to know. Maybe I am. Maybe I am. How is that a cope? Me saying that maybe physical punishment is necessary as long as it doesn't go beyond the reason for it, beyond the purpose of it, or beyond the message of it all. All I'm saying is, maybe you need that slap on the wrist. To be programmed to not touch things. Like, you know, power outlets. Now, tell me why that's a bad take. That's it. That's it. That's what I was asking. And how am I coping when I'm not even arguing against your point? I'm asking questions. Am I being that one guy who tries to not understand the other side? Because that's completely opposite of what I'm trying to do. Just your twisted psychology finding excuses for your... You really do sound like Koos. Oh my god. Fucking deja vu. Right, hold on. Do all people from Germany speak like this? Children are naturally inclined to excuse their parents' behavior because if they don't get along with their parents, they would naturally die. Wait, read up on any literature about raising children. None will support anything you said. That's a dangerous thing to say. That's an equivalent to saying do your own research. Violence being necessary or helpful, etc. I never said that. And I would never support that. I think you're seeing what I'm saying one way that is different from what I'm trying to say. Like, I can tell, like, you're very gung-ho about, you know, being in pain, and that pain being caused by a person is an abuse. You may need that slap on the wrist, yeah? To know not to touch the power outlet. Yes, that's what I said. That is the quote. And some may argue that you can keep them away from the power outlet, right? You can just, I guess, have a fence around. Okay. right. Violence being helpful. You said that. No, I've never said that. No, I have never said that. I was very careful not to say that. No. No, I've never, and I will not stand behind that kind of opinion. Huh? Monsoon is saying, I touched the power outlet, never had a problem. You sure about that? Excuse me. Violence is abuse if used to teach your children, in my opinion. That's what I mean. You're a very black and white person. You may need that slap on the wrist to know not to touch the power outlet. You may need to experience violence to learn. Hold on, no. Okay. Hold on. Rewind. What is violence to you then? What is violence? Violence is abuse. So what is this abuse? Describe it to me. Maybe I can talk from your perspective. Maybe I can speak your language. Not German, of course. Those two... Help me understand. Yeah, perspective. Is what I said. Perspective. Alright, violence isn't necessarily abuse. Okay, I'll try to find a good explanation. Yeah. Take your time. I think I got another 19 minutes until Jelly comes back and I have to cook rice and have dinner and play a little bit of monkey. And then my day's gonna be... Yeah, that's it. That's over. Yeah. Of course, Akalaka. I've been streaming for like longer than 4 years now. Oh no. No, I can't say it's life wasted, because I did meet a lot of cool people. But yeah, 4 years is a long time.
Yeah.
But if I told you gotta cook and clean and take care of these kids, but you can't even hug them and show affection, sounds crazy.
No, I'm not saying you can't discipline him. I'm not saying. I was just saying physically.
It doesn't matter.
At least at this age.
Because you're
You really
still.
can't compare
That's like
affection to beating.
No,
It's like,
yes, I absolutely can. Because
can't.
I absolutely can. Because
two different-
male and
it's two
female.
different
It's the same,
It's
bro. You can though.
You can.
I guess,
Men-
Monsoon.
Men and
I
women
guess.
are extremely different, and we have different roles. So what I have to do is I have to switch the roles around. We are not the same.
Oh, I understand, because we're nurturing and you're the
Yes.
disciplinary.
Yes.
Get it?
Yes. I was very explicit with that. That men are the disciplinarians in their children's lives, and the women are the comforters. And if I strip that comforting ability away from you, from your children, but I'm still making you responsible for cooking for them, cleaning for them, rearing them, cleaning the goddamn, cleaning their dirty diaper, etc. But you can't even hug this child. You're gonna feel some type of way.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's exactly how men feel
Okay,
when they are involved with a
I
child.
understand that.
And then the fact that you're talking about
My mother was the one who disciplined me, right? And I feel like I have to clarify what I meant by being physically punished by her, but still knowing that she loved me. let's say, what's a good example? I used to have to go to a seminar. Seminar? No, almost like an after school like tutoring session to learn how to use fuck. What is it called? What's the English version of the name of it? Soroban. Well, it's almost like after school maths class that my mother had to pay extra for. Right? This is the thing that I used to fucking flip and learn how to do maths really quickly. Although it never really came to fruition. Like math is my worst subject. But I learned how to use this, and I learned how to like memorize phrases to remind me of what times what equals what, which became very, very useful in my daily life as I work as a hearing aid technician. Yeah, so this represents the single numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and the top one represents 5. So as you go through the digits, like one column, is this column, right? Yeah. One column represents a digit. So if it's like 4, you raise all of these 4s up. And then if it goes past 5, you put the 5 up, and then you continue your digits, not digits, your numbers by adding the bottom ones. So yeah, if it's 6, you flip this one up, and then you flip this one up, and that would represent 6. And then you just fucking add shit. Yeah, this is the old calculator right here, right? And it's supposed to help me with school, and it did help me with school a lot actually. But the problem with those classes that I was taking after school was, no, the classes weren't the problem. I was the problem. I skipped it. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to learn it. And I would rather hang out with my female friend at the time. I didn't like her, but she was cool to hang around with. So I was like with her the whole time when the class was happening. And then of course I get reported by the teacher. Mikey went missing today. And then my mother's like, what? With a smiley face, like upside down smiley face. So yeah, like she catch me coming home, standing at the doorway saying, where were you? And then I respond, I was at the class. I was clearly lying, right? She fucking knuckled me in the head. It was really painful. Yeah. It was a bump in the head with like, solid knuckles, because she was furious that I was skipping these classes, right? And at the time I was thinking how unfair it was that she's forcing me to do what I don't want to do. And yeah, I'm just being punished for, doing something that what I wanted to do. But I think 2 weeks later, I figured out that the reason why my mom comes home late is because she's trying to, I guess, improve the future for me, right? She's giving up most of her free time to work more so that she can put me in these classes. She can also, I guess, give me more opportunities to make my future better than what I'm destined to be in this very cruel world of finance in Japan, because everything is so expensive. And then I also didn't consider in the fact that all those time that she has spent working, maybe about 25 to 30% of that was going into the classes. I was just wasting it. And I kind of get why she was mad. No, you're just paraphrasing what I said, Akalaka. That's not what I said. Child rationalizing and explaining their mom's behavior, 100% abuse in my opinion, 100% cope. What happened to you? What's up, Akalaka? What's up? I feel like you've been through worse. No, where? Where is your essay? Where is this essay that you wrote? Put it in Google Docs and send it to me. I want to learn. He's always been like this? Yeah, you're very 0 or 100 type of person. So yeah, the story that I was trying to share is my mother was a type of person who was kicking as hard as she can so that both of us would stay afloat. And I guess, you know, me being a child, you know, wanting to do things that I want to do, not necessarily for good reason. Do make me feel bad looking back. I think Wave is just listening. Wave, are you listening? Oh, maybe Wave is not even here anymore. It's alright, you know? I mean, this debate isn't violent enough. It's not his time to shine. Put it in Google Docs next time then if you're gonna type up an essay. So that you can easily link it to people. I would have done that with my life, if anybody was interested in hearing it. Why put effort into something that I think that people aren't interested in, you know? You know? And then again, I did talk about my life enough through YouTube videos, so. Wave got washed back on to see why. What is this reference? There were many other times too. When what's the other time when I got hit? When I came home late after 5 o'clock. Like playing at my friend's house and didn't realize what the time was. I was scared shitless. But yeah, I mean, it is about life or death out there. Back in the old Japan, like 90s. Like I could get kidnapped and no one would know about it. Okay. Wait, why? But Akalaka, I don't do DMs anymore. Like people are scary. Wait, who else do you have? Who else do you have as a friend so that you can send message through and maybe they can filter it through? It's a new policy. I'm trying to avoid DMs as much as I can. Yeah, Mickey's saying nice things here. Yeah, Mikey's freaking grateful his mother was trying to do best for him and make his life easier with opportunities. It's something that I was blind to when I was a child, right? It's just something that you would understand after growing up and taking responsibility for yourself and how difficult it is to, I guess, provide for yourself and also to someone else that you care deeply about. No, Akalaka, it's never too safe. Yeah, Ivy, I'll try to fix that. I don't know why it's doing that. It's stream elements. Blame stream elements. Monsoon, I think you're a little too young to suck my dick. A little too young. Right, I'm grateful. Of course I'm grateful. But at the same time, I am regretful too. I wish I knew. Or maybe I did know, but it just didn't register because she was too busy. Right? Understandable. Akalaka is saying, Mickey, I get the feeling you abuse your child too. Absolutely not. Wait, Mickey's daughter is like a teen, right? Actually, no, I've never found out. I know Mickey has a daughter. What was the username? Oh god, there's so many servers that I've been in. Being abusive doesn't mean you did nothing good. But what does abuse mean then? Hold on, you can't muddy that water. Hold up. So is abuse still wait, is abuse a bad thing to you? I want to read your dictionary. Like when it comes to your usage of words, I want to know what you mean when you say things. So now it's kind of sounds like you're saying, you know, abuse is not always bad. But the word abuse itself is negative. It's not abuse to do things to your kids and feel like they are wasting the chances a life will give them by not prioritizing things important. That is what we do as parents. When we see our kids hurting themselves, you react by pain and disappointment more than anger. Abuse is from anger and selfishness, not teaching your child to listen and obey for their own good. Yeah, that's abuse. Yeah. Like when it becomes very authoritative, is that the word? I wish I could pronounce things better. Yeah. Yeah, Akalaka, what happened to you? What happened to you? My goodness. Yeah, I mean, obviously something awful happened for you to think, you know, everything is this. This one thing fits in with this mold and it will never escape that mold. Huh? I think Shai wants to know what it's like to have kids. I'll eventually find out. I'm checking Discord. Okay. Alright, now I see it. Alright, give me a moment. Should I read it out? Is this private? You could have just sent it to like I don't know, Flakes or Ivy, aka Oil Queen. But if it's not private, then I'll just read through this. Then you guys listen to this background noise.
About a baby mom coming into the house as whenever they please and stuff like that. That's the same exact thing. That's why I said it was
27.
Kiss the child.
Yeah.
27. I thought she was a teen. You know, you both sound young. Can you just age a little bit? Mickey and her daughter both sound young. Right. Anyways.
Yeah,
But you can't.
Yeah.
I'll be mad as fuck.
That's a good perspective. You know, once I finally like find something I'm even able to bring around my child, it'll be, you know, a fit of their character and stuff like that. Because that's all gonna play in the part of how serious I take a person to bring in front of my child. You know, so it's I'm giving imaginary thoughts and I don't have a face to this imaginary man. Right. So I can't really even say if I would.
Wait, no. Akalaka, this is something that you could have just typed in the chat. I would have read it. Okay. I thought you were typing up an essay about you. Oh, I guess I misunderstood. Okay. Let's bring this up then. If I can work it out, why am I such a boomer? Whatever you say, boomer. Okay, boomer. Whatever you say, boomer. There we go. Oh, you typed it in chat but didn't show? I wonder why it was blocked. Weird. Right. Yes. But yes, Ivy's around. Right. I thought Flakes would be interested in being involved. That's all. Right. Yeah. So violence in this context, I'll define as anything that inflicts pain or suffering to some extent. So I wanted you to define that. Abuse is the improper use of cruelty, especially if it happens often. A slap on the wrist is violence if the child is perceived it as pain-inducing. In your case, being belted, especially if the belt is thin, is definitely violence. Wait, what? Hold on, that didn't sink in my head. Being belted, especially if the belt is thin, is definitely violence. So thick belt is borderline? Wait. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's just a little too blurry, in my opinion. The way you define everything. But I guess you're just trying to type quick and get the message across, right? But the miscommunication that we're having is I don't understand your side and you don't understand my side. But you think you do. that is what's going on, isn't it? Maybe I should just finish the entire paragraph. Hold on. The question is that the violence the question is that violence appropriate? If it is, it isn't abuse. Right. As far as my knowledge goes, all scientific literature perceived lost the line. Yeah, all scientific literature on the topic clearly shows that violence is one of the worst ways to teach children. It's a deterrent, but doesn't throw the child's consciousness, like with the empathy example. Being punched if you punch someone will teach... Hold on. I'm very bad at the lines. Will teach you not to punch others if you're in the weaker situation, but it won't teach you empathy or morals basically. As such, violence used to teach your child something is abuse. In your case, with belt, it is very, very clearly abuse. How do you know that? And you may rationalize that as your mom used it appropriately to teach you when she was right and you were wrong. Or that she loved you and you always knew she loved you. From my biased perspective, that's the typical shit for children who suffered abuse coping. All right. Okay, hold on. All right, before you guys start fighting in the chat, give me a moment. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna do this, right? Okay, I'm doing this. Yes, and maybe increase the size a little bit. It's too big? It's not big enough. Yeah, let's make it loud and clear. Here we go. Okay, so violence in this context, I'll define as anything that inflicts pain or suffering to some extent. All right, so it didn't define. What is? Okay. Hold on. To what extent? Because that's literally the question. It's almost like saying, "What's 1 + 1?" Right, and then you would answer, "It could be 2." That's not what I'm asking, right? So yeah, to what extent, right? And abuse is the improper use of cruelty, especially if it happens often. Yeah, that's your perspective. I think I can respect that, right? A slap on the wrist is a violence if the child perceived it as pain-inducing. Okay. In this case, what if you clap your hands really hard in front of your baby? Is that abuse? Because that's also a form of physical punishment, isn't it? Scaring the child. Now that's a trip to Trauma Town. Hi, Betty. We're arguing. This is fun, right? Okay. Maybe I can just do that, yeah, so that it's clearer. All right. In your case, being belted, especially if the belt is thin, is definitely violence. Right. Here we go. Are you guys ready? Actually, no. I don't really have to point this out, huh? I was gonna ask who said the belt was thin, but you're just explaining. Wait, why does the thickness matter? There we go. That was the question that I was thinking of. Yeah. Why does the thickness of it matter? Okay. All right. So the question is, is that violence appropriate? Huh? Oh no. Is the violence appropriate? Yeah. If it isn't, oh God, what a fucking tongue twister right here. If it is, it isn't abuse, right? As far as I know, as far as my knowledge goes, all scientific literature on the topic clearly shows that violence is one of the worst ways to teach children. Right. Yeah, it is a caveman logic. So I understand that. Very primal. Like having to rely on violence to teach kids. But yeah. So that is why I wanted you to define what violent is. Inflicts pain or suffering. Right? And then it comes to this question. Oh, sorry. Akalaka wants me to forget this ever happened. Right. So this never happened. Right. And okay. One of the worst ways to teach children. I think you're speaking from like what you've seen, right? Through research, right? And I don't think it's fair to ask you like what was it based on? What kind of research it was, and are we talking in terms of like the severity of it or whatnot? You're not the researcher, you wouldn't know that. Right, so it's not fair to ask. I feel like we can say that this is probably true. We can settle it as that, right? Okay, so it's a deterrent, but doesn't. Sorry, just personal preference. Alright, so but doesn't throw the child's consciousness. Doesn't throw the what? Like with the empathy example, being punched if you punch someone will teach you not to punch others if you're in the weaker situation. I mean, it's just part of the lesson, so obviously it's not that that alone is not going to. No. Hold on. Stopping myself. You're in the weaker situation, but it won't teach you empathy or morals, basically. Alright. Okay. If salt alone is too salty to consume, hold on. Okay. If salt alone is too salty to consume, it would be bad for you. Yeah. Oh shit. I was typing the same thing twice. For you to consume it on its own, right? Yeah, English. Own. And I'm using this metaphor because it really is like cooking, isn't it? It's almost chemistry. Like, you can't just apply one solution and expect for the problem to go away right away. It has to be a combination of many things, such as life. So obviously, the abuse is not going to teach the lesson. Abuse is part of the lesson. That's wrong. What did I just say? Yeah, physical punishment. That's what I meant. Yeah. Yeah. So, obviously, salt alone is too salty. You wouldn't eat salt on its own. But you would use it in cooking. Cooking to flavor. Right? Metaphor. I don't know where I'm going with this. Jelly came home. I haven't cooked rice or anything. But I want to finish this. Hold on. I don't want to leave this behind and then just move on. Right? So as such, violence are used to teach your child something is abuse. Well, yeah, because you called it violence. Hello. Welcome back. Just rest. I'll take care of everything. Right, so as such, violence used to teach your child something is abuse, right? I mean... Hold on. Wait, who's riled up? Is there a fight happening in the chat? Okay, hold on. Yeah, don't fight. We're just talking here. Shai, to be honest, if you want to get to your jelly, I'll do that, or continue with this. Continue this with me in VC since it would be fastest. Also, you want to talk? Actually, that would solve a lot. Let's talk. Posting in chat will go on for, I guess. Yeah, let's talk. I'm not doing this for the sake of I guess clearing either side of the view, I guess, the point of view. I just want to understand. Maybe I am coping and you might be able to prove your point right. Talk to me, baby. Hello? Oh shit. Going? No, my mic is not connected. Hold on.
Shai, can you hear me alright?
Hold on, my mic is not connected. Give me a moment.
Oh fuck, hold on.
I had to switch it to the other mic while I was talking to Koma. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Hi! Is it working?
Hi.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you alright.
Okay. So what you said. Do you already have a response to what I've been pointing out, or?
I mean, sure. Fuck, I just closed the stream. Could you maybe like read it out to me? Sorry.
Oh no, what you said on Discord.
Right, but you like responded to it, right? On your text document?
Oh, right.
And I have the stream closed now and I don't want to sit through like a 30-second ad.
Okay. How about this one? There you go. And there's an ad?
Okay. Yeah, for me at least.
I don't get paid.
On my phone.
Okay.
Twitch wants a cut too, right?
Alright, go ahead.
pretty much I'd argue that like to any extent the child perceives as, you know what I wrote there, pain or suffering. So for example, even a paper cut could probably be defined as violence. It's very little violence, and of course the more violence, the worse the abuse, if we define like abuse.
Can accidents be ruled as violence?
I mean, sure. Like, it depends. Like, if you did your best to stop some accident from happening, it would be very difficult, I feel like, to define that as abuse. But like, if I leave on the stove, for example, and I have my, I don't know, 5-year-old playing around, or like 4 years old, I don't know, there's a good chance that that could maybe be defined as violence.
So stubbing
it
your
is just
toe,
irresponsible, right?
right?
Or like leaving your child in the midst of summer in the car all day
That
for like
could be considered
2
abuse,
hours
yeah.
while you go shop.
Yeah,
And I
that's
define like
understandable.
that as violence as well, even though you didn't mean to hurt your child. It's still violent. So I don't think intent really plays a role in whether or not it's violence.
Right. Yeah, neglect can be abuse. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's stick to violence for a second, like before we get into abuse.
No, I
because
just
had,
want
like,
you to
comments on
define
violence
it
too.
for me so that we're on the same page.
Yeah, I try to. I think abuse is like improper use of cruelty, or like you could replace cruelty in that sentence with violence. So like improper use of violence, just generally. If you use violence, especially repeatedly, in some way, shape, or form that's improper, that's abuse. And then I try to define improper, like when is abuse, when is like the use of violence improper and therefore abuse, right? And so that then was like the following few sentences where I try to define when violence is used properly and when it isn't. And right, and then I kind of made a comment about bells, which wasn't really like important to the argument. And went on to like give my take on the scientific literature, which is, as far as I know, there's pretty much no modern scientific literature that backs up violence being a good tool for teaching your children. And if violence isn't a good tool for teaching your children, it's used improperly to teach your children, and therefore it's abuse.
I'm glad you said that, because what you said before was read any literature on raising a child. It will tell you that violence is the worst way to teach. Whereas, you know, like if you go way back, obviously you'll find something that says, you know, beat your kid up so that they learn, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
we're not
that
talking about
clarified it for
something
me.
like 18th century.
Yeah, that's
like
what I
the
meant
fucking,
by,
I don't
you know, you can't tell people to do your own research because they'll find any answers that will support their argument.
Well, it's always kind of really difficult to argue about science because, like, the science says this and this without really me being well versed in on the topic.
Yeah.
It's just my perception. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong in this, but I don't think there's any like credible, whatever there's like some authority on the topic that would argue in favor of physical violence.
Yeah, and I think I've, you know, kept that in mind as I was like going through what you were saying. Yeah, and yeah, I actually agree to what you're saying there with the I also see like Betty understanding that leaving kids in a car is violence. Neglect is violence. So the reason why I asked if accident is violence is because of what you said with the what was it? Paper cut. Can be violence. Yep.
So, for example, leaving your child in the hot car you could call that an accident. You didn't mean to hurt your child. It just happened. Of course, that's a pretty big, like, there has to be a lot of neglect in play, right?
Right.
Leaving the stove on, there's less neglect, but still some. Like, you could be more forward thinking, basically. And then it would be like, if it still happens, it's an even like bigger accident. And so, for example, a paper cut, that's a very unfortunate accident. But there still has to be some neglect at play. So, like, kind of what I'm trying to say is that it's a sliding scale. How much of it was purposeful and how much was like purely an accident.
You're talking in terms of like intent. Okay.
Yeah, right. So basically, the point is intent doesn't matter whether we define something as violence or not. I wouldn't really account for that.
Well,
or would you like?
Yeah, that kind of ruins what I was trying to understand. Hold on. Because I thought what you were saying was if you were to give a child a paper cut intentionally, that's violence, right? That's very clear violence. But if a child were to accidentally get paper cut just because they were flipping a book, that
it's I mean, again, like there's consider how much neglect has to go into that.
But you can't
for a child
oh, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, like for a child to accidentally get a paper cut while reading. That's something that's just like in the nature of life, kind of.
Right.
There's no one like who did an action to cause that. So it's not me causing violence or like inflicting pain on the child and therefore it being violence, right? I'm not inflicting pain actively.
Yeah.
And therefore it isn't violence. If I leave my child in the car, that's an action.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of where I would draw the distinction, even though it's really muddy, I feel like. Maybe I could like find a better definition, or maybe you just have to go with like a bit of common sense here.
Right. Okay. So violence. See, the reason why that confused me a lot is because I thought we were on the line of saying violence has to be intentional, but you saying that intention doesn't matter. Did you say that? Let's clarify that first.
First of all, I did say it. I did say it, right. I don't know, like, I'm still unsure how much I mean that, but in general, for now, I would stand like with that. Yeah, I'd say intent doesn't really matter.
Right.
Like, if your actions inflicted pain, that is violence.
Yeah, and actions are often intentional, yes?
Yeah, but they don't have to. Like,
often.
There always has to be some amount of intention behind it.
Right. There we go. Okay.
So like that's you just wanted me to define violence, and that was my best effort.
So that I'm using it the same way you're using it. So yeah, it's better to clarify that. Right. And
okay. So
yep.
I would just make clear, like, given that like being belted or being knuckled to the forehead, as you described, that's at least violence, right? By my definition, at least. So, okay, now go on. I just wanted to, like, make that clear.
Right.
Like, my argument here.
I have questions, but I don't want to dig into that yet because I feel like we'll just go off track and then branch off to a bigger topic again. So,
what's wrong with you? Probably right.
I just want to pick your brain. That's all. You know, broaden my horizon. Right. Okay. So yeah, abuse is the improper use of cruelty, especially if it happens often. Right. I can say that. You know, I agree with that. Yeah, a slap on the wrist is violence if the child perceived it as pain-inducing.
Yeah.
That's scary.
What's scary about that?
So the... Oh God.
Sorry.
I'm gonna go even deeper. Oh no. No. I'm trying to keep it shallow. Okay, so... the child leaving it to the child to decide if the slap on the wrist was pain-inducing or not. It is like them defining what is abuse from that is, to me, I feel like is a very very dangerous cliff to balance on because.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead.
So like I don't leave it to the child alone, right? That's why I said improper. And then later on, I try to figure out when violence is used properly and when it isn't. So like it's not only down to the child. Secondly, I get your point and I kind of agree with it. But like when I wrote this text, right? From my perspective, I just try to quantify it, as you like asked, like how much violence, to what extent, like on the point earlier. So here I try to quantify it. Like
also, this goes in order then, right? So if it happens often, then you look at how it was pain inducing to the child.
Yeah.
And then we work out from there.
And if it was, right, if the child suffered, and that's up to the child, right? Of course, a child can always claim that it suffered. So that's kind of where it gets difficult, right? Because you don't know if someone's claim is correct or not. Let's like leave that, like the aspect of practicality, let's leave that to the side, right? Let's not think about how would we apply this to the real world. Let's just like try to stick to the definitions.
Yeah.
If the child suffered, like we had godlike knowledge, the child suffered, and it happens often, and it was used improperly, then it's violence. Abuse, my bad, then it's abuse. Like obviously me defending myself, for example, that's not abuse. So that's proper use of violence. If it's self-defense. For example, like there's other examples.
Yeah, I can side with you on that one. Yeah.
Okay, so far I've just tried to like establish definitions.
Yeah, it could be me, but I was just probably misunderstanding everything that you were saying. Yeah,
I mean, I'm also not very good at explaining.
Yeah, I think VC definitely helps. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Right, so next in line is it's deterrent but doesn't. What were you trying to say there?
Crow. It's autocorrect. I tried to write crow. Crow, like growing a plant. It's not proper, like.
Okay.
It's probably not proper English, but like the idea.
Got it. Yeah. Doesn't grow the child's consciousness. Right.
Okay, so with the empathy example again, so maybe I can make it clear here. If every time your child is being violent, you punch your child, that will stop the child from being violent around you, right? Because the child will learn, if I'm being violent and I'm pretty weak as a child, this adult will come and punch me. So that's a deterrent, right? So violence, to teach your child something, is a deterrent. But my question was, does it grow the consciousness? And what I meant by that is, does the child actually learn something? Does the child, like, how do you say that? Like, the thing you try to teach your child, does that actually reach the child, essentially? So with empathy, I don't think punching your child every time your child is being unempathetic, I don't think that will lead to your child learning empathy. It will lead to the child fearing you, maybe, and not being unempathetic around you, but it won't lead to the child actually being empathetic. That's like just my idea. Maybe I'm wrong here, but that's what I believe.
I like the doubt. I'm also doubtful too, when it comes to my own opinions.
I mean, it wouldn't be fair for me to like just claim something as gospel.
Yeah, I like the open-mindedness. Right. Let me refer to the example, and then I'll try to maybe dissect that to make it a little more adapted to your perspective. Right. Being punched, if you punch someone, will teach you not to punch others. Right. So that was on the topic of empathy. That's almost simplifying every math equation to pluses and minuses. You understand? Are you familiar with quadratic equation?
Probably, but not like in English.
Yeah. But any equation that is,
is it like
trigonometry.
A plus B? Is it like A plus B
something
squared?
Like that.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't that algebra? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the English terms too, but yeah. All those equations, you won't be able to do any of them if you don't know BOMDAS. Like if you don't know how to add, subtract, divide, or multiply, if you don't know those simple terms, then you won't be able to complete any of those equations. Let's say the equation is empathy, right? What I'm saying is this physical punishment that I'm talking about is part of those BOMDAS, like, you know, plus minus.
What's BOMDAS? Okay.
Fuck, I forgot
Plus
what
minus.
it stands for. Yeah, plus minus,
Yeah, that's
divide,
fine.
yeah, multiply. That's what I'm saying. It's just small part of a bigger lesson. So this alone probably won't teach what it's trying to teach, right? It's just a small part of it. It's what you follow it up with is what I think, in my opinion, is important to teach the right kind of empathy that you should have for other people. Is what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Could a child learn empathy without experiencing any violence?
I would say so, yeah. Because you could just see the violence happen. And that becomes an experience itself, but it's not something that you're in there for, I guess. Right? I mean, you could watch all the war films and see how people would struggle to just walk through the battlefield, right?
Like, look, I'd agree with you, right? And I would agree that a child can learn empathy even without experiencing violence. But I don't think it matters at all. Like, or at least, like, it matters very, very little. I think you learn empathy, again, by being taught. It's simply like a value, maybe. And I think, because, like, children tend to believe what their parents tell them, right?
Yeah. Well, so, that like, depends on the child, too, doesn't it? If they're rebellious?
Well, they're rebellious because they don't respect you. Like, I'm no expert.
Oh, yeah, that's another branch. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to go to that. Let's say. Yeah, so obviously, the reason why I pointed out as punishment is because it's just it's a part of something bigger, and I think it should be combined with the message as well, you know, like actually telling why that happened, or, you know, why it was a bad thing to do, right? That's a lesson that we're trying to teach, right? And I'm not saying and reinforce.
How is the punishment conducive? I guess how's the punishment conducive to learning empathy?
It's really not. It's just part of the process. I don't want it to end there. Like, that's obviously going to send a bad message.
No. But like, I don't mean like, how does it like teach it in its entirety? But like, how does it help?
Because you will feel what it feels.
And you think that matters with empathy?
I would think so too.
I wrote it in chat before. Like, don't we all experience pain and suffering to some extent? We've all like stubbed our toe at least.
That's right.
So we know that. Like inflicting force on like a human body, that hurts. We all know that. And like if you hurt an animal, for example, you also clearly like there's clear signs that the animal is suffering as well. Even though we are no animal, even though we don't really have anything to go off of, but we still understand that someone else is suffering because we suffer as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's empathy. I think maybe I'm wrong here, but as far as I know, empathy really is about valuing, I guess, the suffering someone else is feeling. And being able to project it on yourself, at least to some extent. So it's not only about knowing someone else will suffer when you hurt them. It's about, I guess, understanding it in like on a deeper level.
Hold on, somewhere in there you've entered the topic of respect and left the topic of discipline. Where was it?
I think like earlier maybe when you asked
what you just said there. It was what was it? You said
I claimed that everyone like knows about pain, but it's about whether or not you value, I guess, someone else's pain. Do you mean that?
Right. So that falls on respect, does it not?
I don't think so. No. Because
like if you value what what that feels like, I guess.
I have to admit, like, a lot of what I'm saying is based on my own experiences.
Yeah.
Especially like on my own, like what I experience on myself and not just what I see. But at least empathy, as I experience it, doesn't really matter how much I respect someone else. So like,
you shouldn't. Yeah. Because it sounded like you did say that, you know, like empathy should matter on the values that you have towards another person, right? So
like,
I was like,
give you an example.
Doesn't that fall on respect? Oh, yep, go ahead.
Even like watching executions or something, I'm sure we've seen that kind of thing. I don't have like less empathy towards those people compared to, good people who die.
Right.
For whatever reason. So it doesn't really matter, like, I guess who I side with or who I like or who I respect. Empathy is still there to the same extent.
But I think
again, that's purely me.
No, the situation, in my opinion, doesn't call for empathy. That's why you don't feel empathy in those situations.
Can you decide whether or not to feel empathy?
You're just watching a person being executed, right? For doing bad things, I'm assuming?
Let's say you like, I don't think there's like really an example of this, but let's say you watch someone murder someone, right? Which is like, clearly you'd have empathy with the victim. And then like, give it like a year time, you see the person who murdered like someone else be executed. It's like punishment.
Right.
Wouldn't you have empathy with the execution, like the executionee, whatever the name, like the person being executed as well?
I wouldn't.
Or could you simply say,
like, knowing what I know, I would agree with the verdict, right?
Yeah, like personally, I'd say the person deserves death as well, but that doesn't mean I don't have empathy with them. And again, that's just my experience. So that's kind of where I'm like very biased. But given that, I don't think respect matters. That's like the question you were asking in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, opinion is an opinion. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what's right or wrong. Yeah, I'm just trying to follow. Maybe this isn't the topic for this conversation. What I wanted to point out. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, what I wanted to point out was how, like, the abuse that you're trying to say with this punishment that I'm trying to describe is just a small part of it all, right? It's supposed to be followed up with like combination of things, such as, you know, like maybe even including the forgiveness part is also a good, like a big part of a big lesson on empathy, right? Where
you're talking about like your experience, right? Specifically.
Let me give you an example, right? So a child gets punished for doing something wrong. Maybe they rolled in the mud or something, right? Yeah. So obviously it's not that severe of a thing to punish them on, but let's say they got a slap on the wrist for that, right? Okay, so now the parents have the responsibility to follow that up with a lesson of why that happened and why it's bad to do that. And then it goes into the forgiveness area where that child earned themselves a sundae or something. I don't know, something nice.
Okay.
To make up for that.
So like, this is kind of where I take like a very extreme stance.
Right.
I'd say the scenario you described is like textbook abuse. And again, maybe I'm being like oversensitive here or whatever you want to call it. But I'd say using violence in that way, right? Like slap on the wrist, which isn't like the child won't suffer. The child won't suffer trauma from the slap on the wrist either.
Right.
That's not like the terrible part. I define it as violence, and I define it as abuse. But that's not like the part that's actually harmful. The part that's harmful is like everything that follows. kind of teaching like reasons for the violence, kind of giving like an explanation for being violent with other people as like a way of controlling them, stuff like that. Which again, in this individual example you gave, that's not like to an immense extent, but the bedrock, the foundation of it is there. And this kind of mentality of you do something wrong, I am violent, now I give reasons for my violence, that's just an abusive relationship, I guess, generally. And again, this is where I take an extreme stance. I'd say like it would be much better to do something like simply teach the child the results of their actions. Like, I don't know, have the child clean the clothes. That like by itself. That's good. And why would you need any more punishment than having to clean your clothes? Because like that's what would happen as an adult as well. If I roll in the mud as an adult, I'll simply have to clean my clothes.
Right.
And like anything more than that, I'd say kind of treads on abuse, especially like if physical.
Are you the type of person to learn everything once? Like the first time?
No way. Like
okay.
Especially like not as a child, no.
Yeah.
And now obviously, yes, clearly. With my superior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on a person who is scared shitless that they feel like they're going to lose someone, and then once they realize that they're okay, they slap them? What's your opinion on that?
Oh no, that's fine. I mean, like the big. I don't wanna. I kind of hate like what I'm about to say, but I truthfully think it's applicable. It's really about the power dynamics. Genuinely.
Sorry, repeat that.
The power dynamics.
Oh, okay, yep.
So like a parent, what I kind of described, a child is one, naturally inclined to believe their parents and like follow their parents' orders. They are all rebellious children, but there's usually a reason for that. Like, for example, a lack of respect, and respect is taught not by being violent, in my opinion, but that's like another like topic entirely. So like one, children are naturally inclined to follow what their parents say and believe them. And two, I think children are naturally inclined to explain their parents' behavior and like make it right, I guess, in their mind. So when you're violent with the child will always think your decisions were right. Okay, maybe I'm being like extreme here, like always, obviously not the case. But generally the inclination, the child will think you're right. And the child is much weaker than you. It relies on you. Like clearly the child has like no leverage at all and faces violence without being able to respond to that. Now, when you have like the scenario you described with like, I don't know, you were afraid of losing a friend and then you're slapped, that's much different, especially if the people involved are like the same age or whatever. I guess so. Yeah.
I think I get you now. You have a very big problem with parents that act as an authority rather than parents, right? You're staring at the extreme case of when parents are justifying. Yep.
I think authority is good. It's just being authoritarian, I guess, and abusing your authority. Yeah.
You're right.
I have a huge issue with that. Yeah. And I think it's harmful to everyone involved. I think people who suffer that sort of what I describe as abuse go on to be abusive themselves. I think it leads to poor mental conditions. I think it leads to stuff like depression and so on in the children. It's just very unhealthy. It doesn't lead anywhere good, and it doesn't build like good character. Especially like talking about empathy. Like what I found very, I guess, fitting was when you talked about school shooters. Because school shooters are very commonly the victims of physical violence and abuse, in my opinion. And clearly they don't have much empathy. You could say they, like in these cases, the violence wasn't used correctly. But from my point of view, there's a pretty clear trend. I don't think violence is a good way of teaching children, ultimately. In any situation.
Yeah. yeah, the school shooter example probably was a very bad example to use, since there's just so many aspects involved. You know, the parenting could be dog shit, like bullying could be happening, and just there's too many outside element to, I guess, compare what I'm trying to say at the time. Yeah, I shouldn't have.
I mean,
brought that
that's
up.
always true. And that's why I think it's so unfair, kind of, that I said, like, just look into the scientific literature. Because, like, that's, like, the only authority on this. Because otherwise you can always explain it away with other things. And the science kind of tries to find reason, like, regarding other aspects and, like, still making a statement on individual things. So me just making, like, a claim without anything to back it up, that's kind of unfair. Like, I'm gonna admit that as well.
But I mean, it sounds reasonable enough though to actually side with an opinion for violence to not be needed when it comes to raising children, right? It sounds it sounds very the most harmless way to go when it comes to raising children, and I like that aspect of it. I just think that maybe we do need like a little bit of bitterness to, you know, like appreciate what is sweet and what is, you know, spicy, salty, whatnot, right?
And do you think like that has to come from the parents?
I don't want
Because,
anybody
like,
else to do that.
But like, isn't this life suffering enough, kind of?
But see,
even for children, life fucking sucks.
if it's happening under supervision, I think it's better than having no supervision at all.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
Oh, you don't like that?
Nah. Like, how do I say this? Maybe I just don't really understand the point of view you're taking. But
Maybe I'm not explaining myself right. Yeah.
I guess like supervision, talking about like, for example, parents in specific, at least me, I kind of really value parents and family kind of being a safe haven in a way from, you know, all that shit that's going on. And I truthfully believe a child will experience enough suffering already, especially like growing up and later in adulthood, that, but like we're talking about children, so let's just stick to growing up. I think there's enough suffering in the world that you don't need parents to teach children how bad the world is by like inflicting suffering on them. I think, I don't know.
How private are you?
In what sense?
How open are you with your own traumas?
Like talking about it to other people, you mean?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not gonna
I
ask
don't
it.
think.
I'm just.
Yeah. I don't think I've experienced very much trauma, but maybe that's because, you know, I'm still 18. I haven't had like a lot of time to reflect on stuff. So maybe I'm wrong here. But from my experience, I haven't experienced a lot of trauma. But when I'm like speaking of general bad experience in life, I'm very like personal, I guess. I don't share it oftentimes.
Yeah.
Which in a way is kind of why I spend so much time online as well. Because it gives me some, you know, room to be more open. Because it's not as personal, I guess.
I got two things to say. Right.
Yeah.
One, I think you're on the right track. As a person who has lived longer, in my opinion, I think you're on the right track to the self-improvement that you're probably aiming for. I don't know, I feel like you are moving towards a goal, and I feel like you are on the right track. Right? So that's just the first thing that I wanted to say. Second, listening to you describe this whole discussion of like, you know, discipline and like I can kind of sense that your trauma is starting to seep out from what you're trying to say. And yeah, that's why I was like, you know, maybe we should slow down a little bit before we go too far, you know, and start, you know, talking about things that we shouldn't be talking about. right? So yeah, that's why I was asking if you were private with your trauma and whatnot. But yeah, I'm actually gonna have to go soon. I've been well over.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah. I just wanted to get to this though. Where was it? Yeah. So in your case, with Belt, it's very, very clear abuse. Yeah, you may rationalize it as your mom. You used it appropriate to teach you when she was right and you're wrong, or that she loved you and you always knew she loved you. Right. So there's a word that I really don't like to use. Right. So this is the sentence that I'm currently focusing on. How do I? Right. Okay. I'll just go right ahead and say,
Yeah.
How did you get there?
Say it. Okay, give me more context here.
Right. So, you knowing that this is an abuse, and how I may have rationalized it as, the abuse being appropriate. How did you get there?
Okay, so first of all, I kind of started like this whole thing. I usually started by like putting forward like a thought very aggressively, and then like the response people have to that, I interpret in some way. For example, with Mickey in chat, I like made the comment about her being abusive very early, or like him, I don't know, being abusive very early on, and then like later on, in my opinion, at least, it seems like abuse was indeed happening. Just like as an example. So with you, same thing. I kind of took that perspective very early on because I've just, from my personal experience, which doesn't necessarily mean it happened to me, but like stuff I see around me, I see with friends happening, just like my life experience, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot of things you said and displayed and behavior patterns and stuff. I try to point out some I feel like are typical of abuse, just like genuinely, I think so. So that's why I was so forward with it. And then like what you like said in response to that didn't really give me any doubts, right?
Right.
So like that's like generally how I approached it. And on like what I wrote specifically, I think it's clearly abuse. Just like again, from what I described, like with my definition of violence and abuse, and if violence is appropriate, I think in the case you described, it wasn't. So I'd say like it's abuse generally. Also, I think people rationalize it, like children rationalize the parents' behavior. And I think that's happened with you, probably. I don't know if that's like super true. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's like my interpretation. Last sentence with the love thing. I'm not trying to say that your mother didn't love you. Not by like any stretch.
Yeah.
I don't think abuse means like you're a bad person. I don't think it means you're a bad parent necessarily. And it doesn't mean you don't love someone. But abusing, like if we isolate abuse, it's never good. Right? There may be things that make it like livable with. There may be things that make it like less bad, but it's always bad. And like you like commented on how her behavior was correct, or like how she was correct in the argument you had, but as a child you thought she was wrong, or like in the moment you thought she was wrong. And you commented that you like as a child realized that your mother loved you despite being violent. And so I think that's just like abuse by my definition and my interpretation.
I think I see it now. I think I see what you were saying.
Yeah. So I think like usually it's a pretty big issue that like we don't have. We're working on like different grounds, right? Like we have different opinions. We go into a discussion with, and then we can't really understand what we're trying to say usually.
Right. Yeah, the reason why I wanted to get to this was because you reached a conclusion that I didn't get to, right? And you're only working off of the context that I was giving. at the time, but you made your stance very clear in terms of how you pretty much evaluate like what is abuse and what is not. And now I'm starting to see your perspective.
Yeah. I mean, like, I also wouldn't say that all abuse victims are like traumatized for life. Like, that's clearly not true.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah. You're saying this is abuse, and I agree with you there. It was an abuse. But I think the difference is I was okay with it, but you weren't.
I mean, I wasn't abused, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think what?
I don't think I was abused. Basically,
yeah,
I just went through it again.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's where the disconnect was. Yeah, it's just I guess the difference in tolerance in terms of like this kind of stuff.
Like maybe I'm wrong here, but I assume like you come from a fairly Asian background, right?
Yeah.
Culturally, and in Germany at least, we're like okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I think like Germany is one of the most anti-child abuse countries in the world. Like we have very extreme. But again, like I don't know for sure, but like that's what I can tell. We have like very strict laws, like pretty much if you buried your child, like I think like one time, that's enough to get like authorities involved. Which doesn't mean your children will be like instantly taken away, but there will be like evaluation if it's reported, of course.
Yeah. Oh,
but usually laws represent culture as well. So like just like the background I grew up with, I think is very extreme on being violent with your children. Yeah, just generally. Whereas like with you, it's clearly not the case.
Right.
So I guess, is that like enough? Did we reach some kind of understanding there?
I just want to wrap it up. And yeah, this is going to be me, talking about myself for like probably a minute. I had an interesting experience where I was able to, I guess, go through different types of abuse. Where my mother, what she did and how you described it and how you pointed it out, indeed, it was an abuse, right? But that was the abuse that I took as discipline rather than, her being, intentionally violent in hopes of hurting me. So after I moved to Australia, after spending well over 10 years under the roof, living with the same person. Hold on, back it up. My stepfather wasn't a very nice person, right? And he taught me what the difference was, and that's why I'm speaking from my experience. I think we can differentiate abuse from discipline if it was done right. Does that make sense?
Like I wouldn't agree with you, but I get your your perspective, and clearly, like simply being abusive, like without any reason behind it, that's like probably the worst kind of abuse.
Yeah, it's still abuse. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. There's always a lesson to be learned with anything that happens in life, and you always hope that, that lesson is not something that is life-altering. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It was a good discussion, I guess.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you, Aka. I appreciate that very much.
Have a good end of stream and enjoy your day, right?
Yes, I gotta cook rice. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. Okay. Dinner time soon. Right. So, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Anybody upset about how I responded to it? What did I do wrong? That conversation infuriated you? Okay. I would love to get into that, and I would love to experience that rage. I don't have the time right now, though. I wish we could just freeze your infuriation and continue next time. I want to know now, though. What are you feeling? What are you feeling? What's up? Yeah, Betty was saying you're both oversensitive and completely insensitive. Oversensitive to discipline and insensitive to others' feelings. I don't call people abusive. That fucking sucks, Aka. Why? Right. So let's keep in mind that everybody sounds a lot more aggressive in text. let's say that. Just like how Aka was, right? When he went on VC, he was a lot more reasonable than how he was talking in the chat, right? And he's also sharing his opinion too. And maybe this is me just being emotionally detached, but I think it shouldn't affect you. Mickey was saying, I totally agree with you. There's no such thing as being a parent without having to assert your authority and punish to teach right from wrong and not hurt yourself without supervision. Right. Betty saying, my mom slapped my huh? My mom slapped my hand to stop me from touching the stove. She's so abusive. Yeah, I think it's also not fair to see parents as these robots that, is always making the right decisions, right? Mistakes can be had, but we can also define things that are happening as what is happening. And I don't think guilt doesn't necessarily have to follow abuse, right? If it wasn't, depending on intent. I mean, you can feel sorry, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should always feel guilty about it. But Betty, he was talking. It was just happening, It's not like an essay where you get to review what you're saying. People make mistakes when they're talking. I know. I did point it out though. I wanted Aka to clarify what he meant by paper cuts. Right, and then we moved on to the conversation of intent, and I was like, oh, so you don't actually think, the child, cutting themselves with paper is an abuse. It is a form of a neglect which could connect to abuse. Right? And while Aka was talking, I was gonna say, you can't expect the parents to hover over everything that the child does, and obviously, paper cut might happen when the child is just a bookworm and they like to read shit. But ultimately, if something bad happens to your child while they're living together with you, even if you aren't around, doesn't the responsibility fall on the parents anyway? Right? And paper cut is not even that severe of a thing to panic over, right? But yeah, abuse is a very loaded term though. I think that's where the problem is, right? The word abuse being used like this. that's when we're like, I don't know if I want to call it an abuse. I get that. Yeah.